Alright, so here's a quick rundown of what we had to do to get the HVAC box out. Of course, both your heater core lines need to be detached, and right underneath the heater core lines there'll be one bolt right about here that goes straight into the HVAC box. Then on the other side you're going to have your AC refrigerant lines. Same thing, they're going to go right over there. There'll be a 14mm nut and then another bolt that goes right through that hole right there and holds the HVAC box on this side. Then what you're going to have to do is take the cover panel off of this area right here, pull up your cabin air filter. There's a little trim piece on top of that just pops off. Then when you get to this section right here, it's got 4 clips that go around in that box area there. You just pull forward on this, quick motion, and those clips will pop right out, and that will give you access to, if you can see it, a bolt that will be right there. Give you a little bit of light. There you go. And you can see that bolt right there. The only reason this has to come out is because it's kind of in the way and you can't really access that bolt very easily. I still used a swivel socket to get to that. So that's 1, 2, 3 bolts underneath the engine bay. Then on the inside of the car, there's no bolts holding in the HVAC box. There's just one here on the side. There's a small tab right here that'll have a bolt going this way right into the HVAC box. After you take those off, the box will come right up. Now the other common issue is getting this metal cage out that's underneath the dash. The bolt that goes through right here and right here, if you look inside the car, they're right up here. So this bolt, you can see it sits up in there. And the issue is, you can see the bolt doesn't have enough room to come out without touching the windshield. So typically they recommend pulling the windshield. But a quick way around this is all you have to do is simply trim that bolt. If you trim it up short enough, when you unscrew it, you've got enough room for it to recess into this hole, and then you can pull the cage out. The bolt stays in place, and once you put the cage back in, you can simply bolt it right back into the same spot. It doesn't affect the bolt at all, and everything goes back together exactly as it should. There's one on the passenger side, and there's one on the driver's side as well. Both will have to be trimmed. So once you've got the box out, you can flip it upside down. There's a bunch of 5.5 screws that have to come out. So flip it upside down. This is the bottom. And start taking any of the screws out that you see around the perimeter of the box. One more issue you might run into is they have these plastic spots right here where it looks like they were basically melted together. It's to seal up the case from the factory, and basically the easy way to get this off is going to be to hit it with a torch for just a couple of seconds. Make sure you blow it out, don't let any fire catch on there, but just heat it up for a couple of seconds while you're pulling up on the case. And if you go one by one from one side to the other, you can just kind of pull up on the case while you're heating it up, and it'll pop right up. And the good part about that is once you put the case back on and you're putting everything back together, you can simply heat that joint up a little bit and push it right back together with a pair of pliers, and it will seal just like it did from the factory. So once you get all those off and you pop those pieces, you can just pull straight up on the casing and it comes right off. And that gets you down to the blend door. As you can see on this one, it looks like the hinge is broken, which is typically the problem area. Right here is where the motor goes into the box. Here's the motor right here. Typically it would sit somewhere right about here and connect into it, and what happens is over time this hinge area becomes weak and it just cracks and breaks. So you no longer have control of the door. The door basically just flaps from one position to another, either from this way or this way. And we're simply going to be replacing this piece.